And now, ladies and gentlemen, that's him, the hero of the 14th International Henryk Violin Making Competition, the winner of the 2 first prizes for the 2 instruments. Piotr Pielaszek is with us, a Pole. Congratulations, heartfelt congratulations. It's really a great achievement. Tell me how you feel now you know that you are a winner. Young people would say, you made it. Well, I'm so glad when you participate in a competition, you always count for the best result, but it's always an immense joy. Well, I am still making myself aware that, yes, I made it, and, you know, it still hasn't really kicked in. Tell me something about those winning instruments, how long you worked on them, what other features, in your opinion? I don't know. Well, I worked on them as long as I normally work on them. It took me 2.5 months to create either. 2.5 months only? That's not long. To make one instrument? Yes. No, I thought that it takes longer, that process. No. You know, on average it's between 2 and 3 months, and it really depends on the maker and on the system of making. What's your system of making? Well, quite regulated, I'd say, quite systematic. And it does help me in my work to reduce the time as much as possible. But the truth is that it's not the time that counts, but the quality. So to tell you the truth, even if it were to take me 6 months, I would really spend that time to make an instrument, if it is to be a perfectly sounding instrument. Okay, can you disclose a secret? What is the secret? There are no secrets here, there is no mystery. It's just, you know, that you must be very careful about the detail, you must be really diligent. There is no secret Stradivari varnish or notes that would help us. Okay, so why do violins differ? Why do they differ? Well, you know, there are many factors. Of course, every artist pays attention to different details, also every maker. And I believe that you should pay attention to everything. So there is not one single most important thing. We need to make sure that everything is fine, starting from the selection of wood. So I never buy it by email. If I need to do shopping, I go to Austria, I go to Italy, I spent 3 days there, and I watch through those thousands. I may choose 10 or 15, and then I've got them mellowed for at least 3 years at home. What do you look for? Weight. It's not the most important, but the most important is the structure and how this wood grew. You need to have parallel and equal along the whole length grains. The grains must be straight. Also the cores that you see, there are plenty of elements that you pay attention to. You also need to test the speed of sound propagation to check the relative hardness. Plenty of elements, but you know, the first impression after you take a piece into your hand tells you a lot, and it's often so that taking it into your hand, you know, that's it. Yes, then I only measure certain things to make sure, inspecting it. But very often you know it immediately that it's it. Okay, you go to Italy to get your wood. What other materials do you have to get and where from? Well, you know, it's mostly wood, really. Also, all the elements like the pegs, like the tailpiece, it depends from the maker. Well, I have someone making it custom for me. Bespoke ones. There are only few people who do it in Europe, and we cook our own varnish with pigments from special roots. There are quite a few things that you get ready, but that's it. And then it's your hard work. Okay, what really makes the sound that it captivates us? Precisely everything. But what is this main ingredient? You can't do it, that there is one thing. Well, perhaps somebody else would answer differently. But to me, it's important that all those factors harmonize. For a specific piece of wood, you also need to put a proper top, a proper body, depending on the body. You know, then you have different thicknesses of elements. One thing results from another, and you have to learn to work with it. Who taught you that? First school, the school here in Poznań, yes? Yes, here in Poznań. So you can study violin making here. Yes. First here in Solna in the high school, and then the Academy of Music. How long does your education take? 3 years secondary school, and Academy of Music 5, even though in my case it was a bit shorter because I quit after year 4 to work abroad, to assist. Yes, I just got a job as an assistant maker in a cool studio in France, very well known, and for a long time I was trying to get there. Finally I made it, so I really gave up studying and I learned most there in the studio, working with a master. Yes, working with a master, first with one, and with one I participated in the previous round of this competition, and after that one I got the prize for the sound, and then I worked with Andrzej Francel, and she saw my instrument and she said, okay, she'd like me to be her assistant, so for 2 years I worked half full-time job with one and half of a full-time job with the other maker. And there I learned how to assess this wood, how to work with it, how to make the bodies. What predispositions do you need? What features to become? Well, you need to have talented hands, that's first thing. So manual skills, ability to work with tools. Not everyone has those skills. Of course, you can train them. Precision counts, doesn't it? Yes, I think it does. Yes, that's so a bit like a surgeon, a bit like. Well, because an instrument doesn't have to be sterile. It doesn't have to be finished ideally. There are some elements that at times I leave my tool marks to keep a character of a tool, to show what tools I use. Sculpting the head, I don't use glass paper. I just leave traces of chisels so that in 50 or in 100 years somebody could tell how I use it. But you need this precision, not on the scroll, but in other elements of the instrument. For example, when you need to set the neck, typically, technically, or also you need it for the bus bar. What other than precision? Being precise and what? I don't know. Generally, any perhaps traits of your nature? Yes, and you can see them in the final work. Patience? Yes, patience is by all means useful. Of course, you've got to spend many hours, especially in the beginning. Well, with time, every maker wins great expertise and they can make the instruments easier. Well, in the beginning you need a lot of patience to learn the basics. So yes, that's something you need because it doesn't go far. Well, you're quite a communicative and open person, and I always thought that a maker is an introvert who's focused on their work, that you rather cut off from the world, but you must have a perfect contact with the clients, with the world. What is it like? I'm interested in one thing. A violinist comes to you and orders a violin. I go to a tailor, I know perfectly well what I want, and I have my expectations. Tell me about the expectations of a violinist when he comes to you. What does he tell you? Let me say like that. Every maker has a different approach. I can always only tell you about myself and how I work on the violins, and I tell every client that I'm not a magician and I can't make an instrument that they imagine, and I can't make an instrument of their dreams, but I'm most diligent in whatever I do, and I know quite well how to call it, not copy, but I can create instruments that have very similar sounds every time. So each instrument is equally good sound-wise. So if there is a musician who likes my piece and they heard it at a competition, or perhaps at a concert, or perhaps his colleague plays one of my instruments, and they say they'd like to have one of those, and they come to me, then working together, we can build an instrument that will be to his liking. But it's always going to be an instrument that will have this characteristic sound, or that you could hear it during the auditions, which two instruments sounded similarly. I could hear it, and these were yours, for example. As far as I know, yes. To what degree is a violin personalized? I mean, adjusted, fit to the needs of an individual violinist. The sound, less. It's less about the sound. I'm trying to make the instrument sound as good as it can, taking into account what sound I'm looking for and what the nature of my instruments is. Speaking of the rest, we can use different wood, different looking wood. We can use varnish of different shades. We can choose also different extras. It's a bit and a lot. Okay, did you have any strange orders, like a pink violin? Oh, I wouldn't make one like that. You know, there are some clients who want to participate in the process of the making. They want the color, not really the color, the shade of the instrument. But there are many who believe that, no, we came to you, I came to you because I trust you, and I want you to make me a violin that is personal, but that it has the character of the artist who made them, not in any way imposed. Just like we go to a famous designer, yes, we won't impose, and we won't impose how things are to be made. This is the way I'm trying to work. If I got a very strange order, I wouldn't agree. So there is a border. What is a border that you would never transgress? I believe that my borders end quite quickly because I'm trying to be very classical about the making of the instrument. Is it the school of Cremona? Yes, you can call us this way. So I'm certainly not going into the extravaganzas, into extreme colors, even though now I'm thinking, well, is it extravagant? That's another question. I'm thinking about using some other materials because, for example, using ebony becomes a problem, and some exotic woods in it, because you're moving away from the jacaranda. Yes, you can have some of those, but ebony is difficult to find. So are we now trying to find European wood which is chemically reinforced with resins? It's an extravaganza for the classical violin making. It's going to look similar, but it's not going to be ebony. It's going to be either hardened ash or it's going to be hardened walnut tree. Technologies aren't here yet. Well, acoustics-wise, I'll say that there are some artists who make a lot of tests. I test the vibrations of the bottom and the top, but that's an extra for me. I can just make sure whether the given thicknesses are proper, combining notes, comparing notes. I have a lot of notes on each instrument and I have all the data. Then making an instrument, I can look into the history, into my notes, and make sure whether I used this tool before. Well, they are numbered. I know which part of the tree this comes from, and then I can test whether I used that piece of wood before, and if a client wants a violin that sounds like the one he's got before, I can find precisely the piece of wood I found, trying to find a similar piece of wood or the same, now with those notes about the heights, about the thicknesses, because I even test the vibration frequencies and all the precise sizes, it will help me to recreate that sound. It's today very important to let the world know that I'm a perfect violin maker. How do you use modern communication technologies just to reach your potential clients? In most cases, these are social media, Instagram, Facebook rule, when it comes to that, in my case. So you are active online in social media. I'm trying, but it's not natural for me to put Insta stories every day. But now there's going to be one from the competition. Yes, there has to be. No, I don't do it every day, perhaps every 2-3 days. A photograph, I'm showing the process of instrument construction because many people are interested in it. Musicians, but also other makers. Colleagues ask me, oh, you went this way. Can you just disclose what tools you use, what dimensions? And you disclose it? Yes, I do. It's not a secret. No, as I told you before, that's, hard work and diligence. And I really believe that there are no secrets here. If somebody doesn't work hard, even with all the necessary with all the necessary information, you're not making a good instrument. I'm sharing all that. If we didn't share it, the making of instruments wouldn't change. Do you feel a mission of promoting this profession among young people? To a certain extent. That's why presence in social media, because analyzing the statistics, it's not the majority of my followers who are musicians. No, many of them don't have much to do with music. So I'm very glad that other people are also interested in this profession, which is not popular. Are you a TikToker? No. Well, perhaps I should be. Maybe some funny stories connected to instrument making? No, that would be too much. You need to focus on your work, yes. Yes, then I would spend more time with smartphone than in my lab. How many hours a day do you work on an instrument? It changes. I try to start at 8:30, and if it's a bad day, I can finish at 9:30. When you have a bad day, for example, why? Well, I can feel bad. No, you mean 1 hour later? No, I'm just giving you, I thought that it's 9:30 p.m., no, a.m. No, I'm not trying, to stretch it, because then you can really spoil things. If I feel that things don't work, I prefer to put things aside, to put an element aside and return to it in an hour or in 2, or on the following day. But, these are those cases when I feel that this is not my day. But usually I spend about 10 hours a day. I believe I spend about 10 hours a day in the studio, and I also work Saturdays and Sundays. How do you relax? Now, before the competition, hardly ever. So when you have time, cycling, I love traveling, so after I finish a project, I try to travel or to combine work with my travel. Travel is my hobby. It's now fashionable. Everyone says that traveling is their hobby, but I really like it, and it really has me relaxed to move. It's been quite difficult in the recent years, but I hope it's going to finish. What was your most memorable journey? I don't know, there were plenty of them. And your beloved? Well, last year I was in South America for 3 months, Colombia, Ecuador. It was cool. But generally, even short trips to visit clients, they are memorable as well, unforgettable. When I flew to Taiwan, I spent more hours on a plane than there, but still it was cool, so that was it. So when you deliver the violin, you remain in constant touch? I don't know. Maybe I have 1 or 2 clients I'm not in touch with, and with all the others I'm in very close touch, so close that we send Christmas cards, we ask about how the instrument is. So you also a general practitioner, even closer than a general practitioner? No, I start from the assumption, I've worked on that instrument for 2.5 months. It's 2.5 months of my life. I spent all my time, really devote everything to make the best instrument possible. I don't want, to abandon it, even if somebody buys it. Yes, it's my work, I make money on it, but I want to know how it's aging, what's happening on it, who plays it. And that's why I'm always very grateful to my clients. They want to share all those remarks, how it is to play it, and they say, hey, I changed the strings, now I use these, it sounds like that. This is also precious information for me, quite valuable. I can use it then, for example, recommending things to my future clients, to my clients. What's your greatest dream? I don't know. I don't think I have any at the moment. Perhaps that things come back to normal at least a bit, and we can do what we love, work, travel, meet, and I don't have big dreams. With hard work, it's so that everything really gets to this positive end. Thank you very much. May all your things come to a positive end. May you create wonderful instruments that are the most demanded in the world, in the greatest demand, and let there be harmony in your life. Yes, that's important. Yes, I believe that's important. Piotr, all the best to you. Thank you. Thank you.